Poor Jeff. 3 times I've said, do I know you? Who are you? Anyway, early on in planning of the rendezvous, I get this wonderful phone call from Doug Ryan saying, you gotta get Jeff Phares to come to your rendezvous and do a seminar. And I'm like, okay, and I got busy and finally he calls me and says, I'm gonna have Jeff Phares come to the rendezvous and do a seminar. So then I started really looking you up a little bit and seeing what you did, and I'm so happy to introduce you to the rendezvous this year.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You have agreed to do a seminar because I think everybody's pretty excited about it.
Well, good. Well, I hope so.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm having a ball here.
And I will turn it over to you. I don't think this was on, but it's okay. I had it off, didn't I? Thanks.
All right. You got it. Yeah, I've got a few of these. All right, man. Tell me when.
When?
Well, as you can see, my name, and maybe you read a little bit about me. I've been carving since '84, full-time since '91, and loving every minute of it. What we're going to talk about is a little design information, which includes the negative space, which if you look at some of my work, I like stuff suspended in the air with holes, but they've got to be kind of put in the right place so they match. You just can't. I get a lot of guys who'll come into my classes and they'll just drill a hole through it. Well, that's a negative space, right, but it doesn't fit. And so you got to open it up and give it some mod shapes, this kind of thing. You'll see some examples towards the end of me talking. Then we're going to, and you'll be able to apply to what I'm going to be discussing here. Design information. You want to, when you design it, when I design a piece, put it this way. I mean, each his own. There's no right or wrong when it comes to carving or art. When it comes to anatomy, there are rights and wrongs. Design, you always want to work, I tend to work on, when I'm designing a piece, for example, I'll draw an S curve. All right. Another concept is you can use the old concepts are based on heads and triangles. If you look at the busts like in the White House of the presidents and everything, it's their head, shoulders, it comes down, and then usually there'll be a nice little base made for it. Okay? Art is also based in odd numbers. 1s, 3s, 5s, 7s. Like that. Paintings, anything, any type of art. If you'll look and count the components in the piece, you'll see that there are usually always an odd number of components. So that's a good thing to remember. It lends a nice balance. Okay. I do a lot of busts and full figures, but the busts are really a lot of fun because you can really get creative with the bases. I like pieces of wood that have kind of maybe a knot or a burl in the bottom or something. I always put it towards the base because I never paint the bases, or they're all clear finished. It shows off the wood really nice. Another one is contrasting C's, like that, which is basically an S curve, but and any combination thereof. The idea in design, there's a term called line continuity. And what that means is, for example, if you have, well, let's do this first. We're going to design a piece on an S curve. Nice soft S. Figure eights. That's another good form to use. A three-dimensional figure eight. Okay? For example, if I was going to design a piece on this S curve, I'd say, okay, we'll put our head right about here. Got a feather sticking out here, maybe. I do a lot of Native Americans. I do other subjects too, but that's kind of where I started. That's kind of where the western end of it is where my love lies, okay? I mean, I've raised horses all my life, and that's just what I like. And so, well, here's his neck, here's his shoulders. And then come in here and cut in high here, cut in low here, and then bring it right on about. And see, it just kind of blends together like this. All right, so see, we got S curves. we've got another S curve here, or C. So like I said, combinations of these main 4 design lines to build a piece on gives yourself line flow, continuity, which means, for example, you've got a head here. As you can see, I can't draw. If you don't understand it, please speak up. Got hair coming down here like this. And there's his neck. There's his shoulders. Okay, shoulder comes in, and it comes down here. Here's your counter. Here's another combination of a positive shape and a negative shape to create interest. A negative shape is basically like a bowl. A positive shape is like a ball. Okay? But you can, these counteracting curves makes it really nice. Then you can come down through here, you know, with your base. I always recommend working a base into your piece. A certain judge told me this at a competition, and it works. But your piece should stand alone. A lot of I'm a hand carver, by the way. Let me say this right off the bat. I don't call myself, I'm not a chainsaw carver, okay? I don't do what you guys do. I can't control one that well, but I do use a saw and grinders on everything I do, because I start from scratch. And, but it just gets me to where I want to be faster, and I can spend the time making it look really cool than finishing it off. But line continuity, for example. Okay, we got a, here's, say, our inside piece of hair. Here's our chin. We've got a necklace that runs in here like this. And what line continuity means is you've got one line crossing another. If to follow, for your eye to follow, your eye comes down here and say falls off of this line. It could, something from the back, like from a side view. How can I explain this here? It's when one line crosses another. Okay, for instance, say your eye, on a bus, people's eyes go right to the face first. 99.9 times out of 100, they'll go to the face first, and they'll work their way down. Well, line continuity is what keeps your eye on your piece, keeps the viewer's eye on your piece. In a competition, that's what you want. You get a lot of people that come in here and we'll do a bust. Draw a little head here and shoulders. And they'll come in here and do this and this and that. And maybe put a base on it. Okay, what happens, your eye comes in here, they look at the face, they look down, they hit the base, which is sitting on a table, and there's another guy's piece sitting over here. They come over here, they look down, see it, hit the table, your eye goes this way to the next guy's piece. Okay? You need to make sure and try to, that line, that continuous line is what continuity means, it's continuous. And that keeps the viewer's eye on your piece. And this, and busts are three-dimensional. And so you need something to carry your eye around the back. Like I say, you'll see some examples. It's a little bit easier to explain when you see the slideshow up, a little bit of a slideshow up that Ed put together for me. How this stuff works. Okay, what was my next? Everybody understand what I'm kind of talking about there? Like I said, I'll explain a little. You'll understand this when you see the pictures a little more.
The next one is negative space, Jeff.
Negative space, okay. Well, a lot of, they're holes. Okay, I like my work, like my piece, my bust, suspended in the air. Even my clay work and bronze work, I do the same. And that way you can bring a base and swirl around and make some nice curves. There's no straight lines in art or nature. So don't there if you're looking around your piece, checking it out. Oh, you see a straight line here. A lot of times it happens in the back. So you got a piece here, head, neck, shoulders, and some hair here coming in. Well, they run out of wood. What I'll do is say, for example, this would be the base. Oh, I looked at the side of it. Oh man, straight line, no good. What you got to do, how you could fix this, for example, if you look at a person with long hair, like an Indian or anybody for that matter, there'll be a little indentation here at the back of the neck. So that gets rid of straight lines and kind of rounds your bases undersea. So see, you just got, there's another kind of a curve. So you want to kind of shoot for that. Negative space, this is an easy way to create that. And you, like I say, you bring your base down kind of like so. And that gives it some interest. And I'll usually take a big gouge, or for you power carvers, say a big ball. Oh, drop his mic, he'd be mad. Take a big ball and create some nice soft curves that roll around and roll on around the back and come up, say, and fade into the hair. I tend to, a lot of my things are go from extremely realistically detailed and transition into the stylized base. Okay? Now, transition, that's another term. Smooth transition. What that means, when you start talking in, when you start carving, you want to just think in shapes and forms and masses. If you get the shapes and forms correct, the detail will look great. Therefore, like I said, I've studied a lot of anatomy on my own, and we'll talk a little bit about that for the face here in a minute. But like I said, I just lost my thought. What did I say?
Smooth transition of form.
Huh? Oh yeah, that's right. There you go. Yeah, smooth transition of form. That's a big thing. That means a smooth change from one form or shape to another. And where that happens on a head, for example, it happens from here, from a smooth transition from your nose to your cheekbone. It's smooth here. You see a lot of carvers, caricature carvers are really bad about that, but that's caricature. Man, you know, you can get by with it. But see, it's smooth. If you look at your own face, you know, that's a good observation. It's a smooth transition. It doesn't come down, stop, go out, and that way. It's not like a square, okay? Another part of smooth transition to form, got the all blurry, is here at the neck. A lot of people like to come in here and do a profile, and then boop, there's the neck. They'll make a stop cut right there. That means you cut in and up. It leaves a square corner. Well, the neck goes and go, it looks like a head stuck on a post. You know, the neck comes into the shoulders here, comes in like this. All right, if we were to draw a straight line from, get rid of some of these lines here. Shoulder in there a little better, we're going to need that. And the neck. And the profile. Okay, if you were to draw a center line down each part, if you're doing a bust, like I said, your neck does not come straight down. Okay, it comes into the shoulders are kind of like a saddle, and they got a hole in the middle. That's where your neck comes into. So if you were to draw a straight line down like say the center of each component here, your head, neck, and shoulders. The head's here, the neck's here, shoulders here. Okay, so this is a big problem I run into a lot. So anyway, like I said, I'll show you. I'll explain. Go a little over negative space a little bit more when you see the photos, because there's some pretty good shots of that in there.
Design of the human face, Jeff.
Okay, human face. What we're going to do, profile is the biggest point. I'm using an Indian as my example. Not doing very good on this chalkboard. Like I said, I can't draw. But anyhow, yours from here, well, see, this will be the tip of the nose. Here's the dent in the face. And here's the mouth. Like that. All right? Well, you're the same distance. It depends. I mean, if you look at a lot of my information comes from observation. Okay? Some people have a bigger bulb on the back of their head and cuts in here a little bit more. Some people, you'll see, will almost be straight up and down back here. Okay? So, like I say, people vary, and some of these things, all these proportion things I'm going to be telling you, these are general rules, just general guidelines. Okay? If you stay within those just general guidelines, it'll usually turn out pretty good. So, but you are the same from here to here as you are from here to here. A lot of people come in here with a 2 by 2 block that's about this wide, and then they'll carve a face this long, 4 inches long. Doesn't work, okay, because you don't have enough to try to carve a head on the end of it. So you got to work with the size of wood that you got, because like I said, you are the same from here to here as you are from here to here. Yes?
Is there a proportion for the depth on the neck? You know, I know I've read everything is there, but like, I'm often when I'm carving the face, I don't know how far to come back from the neck. Like, I usually go too far on it. Is there a proportion for this distance?
That, no, I don't have one.
I don't see it anywhere. Like,
Just push the screen.
Right, well, common thing, if people won't push this throat back far enough, your face winds up looking like this. Well, and so what you gotta do is do that, you know, think about this here, this distance, get some good distance here. And I mean, right here, kind of comes up to maybe, say, the edge of the brow orbit, if I was to guess. But a lot of times, like I said, I really don't have a proportion rule for that. But you do want to expose some chin. Now, I'm going to take just a second and shut up and try to make a drawing here that, I'm going to have to block your camera for a second.
No, you're on over there, you're good.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll say this is the side of his head here. Or the front of his head, I mean. There'll be his neck. And when I'm carving shoulders, the shoulders, proportion-wise, the body is based on head lengths. Okay, or this is a head length. From here to about the point of the nipples is a head length. From here to belly button's a head length, and from here to the crotch bone's a head length. So, but the crotch bone itself is halfway down a full figure. So, as long as you keep that in mind, if you're doing like a long torso, you can usually hit it pretty good. Just use your head length measurements. That's why I always set the head first, set the width and the length wherever it meets the hair. Here, for example. And that tells you that there's your width, and then you got your length set. Facial features fit that shape. So get that face shape in there this way, and get the length set, the width set, that is what dictates where your nose and your eyes and your mouth and all that stuff fits, all right? So on a muscle point of view, there's the hair. Come in here for a minute. Then here, down. Like so. You have a muscle group that runs. You got your eyebrow here, all right, and your eye. Then you got your nose. Get your smile on. There's a muscle right there. There's a natural hollow in here, and then you have this big masseter muscle here that attaches at your temple. Up here and fans along the side of your temple like that. That's why your temple moves when you chew gum. And so, like I said, those are the main muscles in the face until we get to talking about the lips and the nose and the mouth. Okay? Now, when you're in proportionate face, where do things go? There's a lot of questions. Well, where people come into my class, they'll get a block and they'll get ready to start. They'll take a few chips off the corner and they'll go, where do the eyes go? I don't want to hear the word eye before the second day, or till the second day at least. You go from top of the head to the chin. What I do is I come in here about halfway, and then I'll draw a hot dog. Because the actual center of the head, your bottom eyelids lay right on it. Common mistakes, people say, oh, just cut a groove across halfway down the head, cut a groove, that's where the eyes go. Well, in all reality, there's bottom eyelid sits on the center line of the head. So I draw a center line, draw a hot dog, and that's where this big gouge cut starts, or a ball. If you got a power ball, just go across there. We're working over there on the corner. You can come check out some of the stuff that we got at the table over at Doug's corner and kind of see some of this. So we get that gouged out. All right, so right about here, move our center line. Here would be our eyebrows. Okay? And here would be the dent in the nose. Okay? From the dent in the nose, you see, I haven't touched this yet down here. From the dent in the nose to the bottom of the chin, halfway down is where the bottom of the nose falls. Okay? And then from the bottom of the nose to the chin, for our lips, you divide into 3 equal parts. This first line is the lips themselves where they meet. And the second line is this dent in your chin. All right? And that will pretty much that's a good general proportion to follow. Now, if you look around this room, I see 2 guys right here, Pat and I think Rob. Can I use you for a minute? Stand up and turn around. Okay, I want you to look at this dent right here on both of them. Okay, look at Pat, the one on the gray shirt with the gray sweatshirt on. Look at this dent. See how close it is and how short his bottom lip is to that? Okay, now look at Rob and see the crease here, how he's got a longer bottom lip. When you're doing pieces, that's what one of the things changes faces. This line can move up and down a little bit depending on what you want. Okay, and like I said, a lot of this information comes from observation, and then of course the anatomy thing comes from just the studying books.
Can you lay out a female face from the side profile and from the front as well?
Yes, yeah, they're laid out. The lines come out, the mapping out comes out about the same. Now, a little difference between, I'll see if I can do this without too much wasting too much time. A couple of differences make them. A man has pretty heavy features. Okay? All right. A One thing to feminize and kind of a real heavy brow, squared off brow, you know, stronger structures. Three things that feminize a face is the shape of the nose and the forehead and this profile right here. Notice how it kind of drops back a little bit. Well, a female, she comes down, she doesn't have a deep dent, and her nose has a little ski slope. And a lot of times her nose will tip down like that, and then it'll come in here. And they have a nice arc for their jaw. On a man's jaw, it's pretty harsh. Okay? Okay, another question I get, well, my jaw's too straight or whatever. A good rule of thumb is to remember that the angle of a jaw is at 4 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on which side of the head you're looking at. That angle you get, you know, this would be 8 and this would be 4. That's a good angle to get that up there. And also, if you look right here at the point of the jawbone, it's just about even with your mouth. So I always kind of leave my jawbone a little straight. And then once I get this all laid out, it kind of gives you another mapping area to follow to get the angle of the jaw, okay? So anyhow, another thing is on their eyes. If you look at a woman, no offense ladies, on my drawing abilities, okay? Their noses are narrower and not near as big as, kind of hard to tell, maybe a smaller piece of chocolate, I guess. And then they have this nice soft curve, arc for their eyebrows, okay? As opposed to a man which has, it comes up, and the brows come in here like that. In some of my clay classes, one of the exercises I do when I start off, and women, another thing, women's chins are a lot narrower, and their mouths are a little more puckered up, you know, they have a little fuller lips. So these are some feminizing features. One of the things I do in my clay class is I use water-based clay in my classes. I'll start out, build a head, do an Indian, turn it into a woman, and turn it into a little kid in about 45 minutes. And because the water-based clay is really soft. So that's a good demonstration that I like to use for my classes. So anyway, that's kind of where you start there. Now, before we talk about noses. Noses and mouths, I put out 3 books here a while back. They're out of print now, and they didn't do as well as my first one, the one they had back there. But one was carving noses and mouths and explaining the difference between Native Americans and white folks. White Indians' noses, typically classical, have an arc like that. And then their mouth barrel comes in and it kind of protrudes. Okay? It's because their teeth come together different. Their teeth come together more like a horse's. The old Indians do. I mean, a lot of them now. I lived out in New Mexico for several years, right on the edge of the Navajo reservation. A lot of mixture, things like that, and hooking up with white people and Indians. But Indians tend to have a kind of a round mouth barrel. Their nose comes down and it kind of rounds around like that. White folks, an Anglo nose is more like that. And the profile of a white guy European. See the difference in the main profiles? Okay. That's the difference between white guy and Indian guy. All right. From the front, how I like to visualize the nose. When you're looking at the nose here, you got your brow ridge, and here's your dent. We'll say this is halfway down. How do you want to visualize a nose? I carve in planes. Start out with planes, because the edges of those planes, which if you got picked up the book, you can see where I've marked those. You have a primary profile, secondary profile. This is your primary profile right here. Okay, your secondary profile is this right here. Okay, and so the geometric shape of a nose is like two diamonds overlapped. So I can get them even for you. Like that. This being about the bottom of the nasal bone. You can take your fingers and start here and run them right down. You'll see your fingers get wider, and then boom, squeezes in on your nose, and, and that's the end of the bone. The rest of all this is cartilage. So, and then you can always go in round corners. So like I say, I start with planes, it's everything set up, and you're good to go. Lips themselves have 5 muscles in them, and just the lips themselves. You got on the top lip, you got 3. You got one here, you got one here, you got one here. Bottom lip has 2. You got one here and one here. That's why they fit together like they do. All right? And then usually you'll have a little one out here. If you look at the mouth area where the actual opening of the lip stops. And then the smile line, say from the bottom of the nose, comes out around that, like so. All right? Does that make any sense to y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, well speak up if you got any questions while I'm talking, because I'm not used to working with a fat chalk. So,
Can you draw a woman's lips?
pardon me?
I need you to draw a woman's lips.
Well, they're a lot of times they're narrower and a little puffier, okay? And when I try to do well, I like to make them pretty, you know? And so, kind of, let's see here. Kind of like that. And they still have the same, and then the pink part of the lip comes in here like that. And like that. So, yeah, that looks just like crud. Kind of like that, see? Like I said, they're usually a lot narrower. I like to tip them up at the corner, it gives them kind of a pleasant look. You know, Indians usually look aggravated. But and nobody likes an aggravated female either, so it doesn't look good. So anyway, and they still have the same muscles, but there's no hard features and no hard lines. That's what guys have been carving Indians for 15 years, and you go to try to carve a woman. Well, as a matter of fact, you can look at YouTube. Quit moving your mouth there, bud. See how harder his features are, and then look at the lady sitting next to him. See how soft hers are. Okay, that's the difference. Women are soft. There's no sharp cuts or anything, and so you got to teach yourself to spread that apart, you know, and delineate between the two. So anyhow, that's pretty much on the lips and the nose. Now I'm going to spend a few minutes on the eye, because people have, my students, and I don't know about other people, or you guys, but so many people have trouble with the eyes. What happens is they get a brow ridge here, okay, and they get their socket made. Here's the dent in the nose. All right, here's cheekbone, zygomatic arch, and here's your brow, and here's your brow. And then what they got a socket in there. Well, to create an eye, you've got to create a mound from side to side. Most people try to create they think an eye is shaped like a football. Typically, you know, okay, well, it looks like a football. I can't even draw it wrong. I've been so used to doing it. Eyes are not footballs, okay? Eyes have a different shape. Here's your center line. Here's the inside of the nose. Here's your brow ridge. Top eyelid starts here, angles up roughly at a 45-degree angle to the center line. Okay? Has a sharp inner angle up the inside. And then what it does, once you mark the distance of the opening, it drops off gradually like that right on down through the center line here. Okay, then when the bottom eyelid is pretty much the opposite, but you're going to notice something here in a second. See how much more space is on from the center line of the eyeball? How much more space is at the top than there is the bottom? Has anybody ever had tried to hold their eyes open and blink from the bottom? Can't do it. All the movement takes place from the top. Okay? Only way you can move your bottom eyelid is if you do this. Okay? So that's a little something to bear in mind. My Western figures, I try to keep them squinty. A common mistake is people like to get them too wide open. Okay, and then they look like that, you know. So always think squinty if you're doing you know, Western figures or rugged figures. Now women's eyes, on the other hand, are more almond shaped. And also, typically, so here's the side of her nose, here's her brow ridge, here's the brow coming around, here's her center line for her eye. They come in, they still got the angle. Oh, center line, a lot of times on women, if you look around at like women, you look, the center line from corner to corner of the opening, their eyes are slanted up just a tad bit. Not Oriental, but just a tiny bit. And that's kind of a beauty thing. So you kind of draw them in there like that, and then the eye comes in and is more almond shape. Nice and pretty, okay? They don't have this deep cut. On the eyes, now this is all from the front I'm showing you, okay? Top eyelid comes down, carries on down past the center line. Here's the side of the face. And the bottom eyelid tucks up underneath the bottom eyelid. Same thing with the lips. If you got with the lips again. Here's the dark colored part of the lip. Here's the dark color to the bottom lip. Bottom lip, here's where it opens. The bottom lip always tucks underneath the top lip. Okay, on the corners. So that's a little thing on mouths from the front. The widest point of an eye is actually this way. The two high spots and the lowest spot, okay? I understand so far. How we doing? All right, cool. All right, from the side, this is where problems come. You come in there and they'll make a round ball. And a lot of people see this big, heavy shadow right up here. And that's the first thing they do. They start coming in here. Here's the surface of the eyeball. Let me make this a little bigger. Brow ridge, eye socket, cheekbone, dent in the nose. And so you make it round by getting it deeper in each corner. You get that done. That's what it looks like from the side. Okay, well, first thing they see, like I said, is this big, deep spot. And this is different from person to person. Skinnier or leaner people, leaner faces tend to have a heavier shadow up here than, say, filled out people. That's what makes it all different. And so what first thing they do, they start chopping in this way. All right? And then all this is gone. So what you got is this. Okay? That's backwards. And you can look in the mistake. I did put a mistake section in my book, which most people don't put in their books. It happened to me too. You can see it. There's pictures in there, and there's also instructions on how to correct it. So look at those, and then look at the piece I did, and you can see the difference, you know. That was back when I started. Because the eyeball, there's your brow ridge, cheekbone, dent in the nose. The eyeball sets in the head at that angle. Look at people from the side, the eyeball sits in there like this. The bottom is a little deeper than the top. So and then what happens here is they'll put their top eyelid in, and they'll jam in this way, they'll put their bottom eyelid, and they'll just kind of try to chop it down. And for example, blown up version of this here, socket, here's a side plane of your eye. They've chopped in up here, and then they put their eyelid in, and they chop in this way, and they put their bottom eyelid in, and then they'll come in here and they'll try to get down like that, and you wind up with a peak on the front of their eye like that, all right? And there's not enough surface of an eyeball showing to create roundness, unless you're doing an eye this big, and then you can get a little bit of that. So for all said purposes, the surface of the eye is pretty much a single plane, okay? There's no peak across the middle or anything like that. So that's, like I said, this is all a no-no here. This is where you want to be. And how you do that, from a front view, this is how I teach an eye study stick. I draw a circle, cut it in half, and then you can mark the middle of it if you want. And then you start here with like if you're using a ball, it's a ball about the size, depending on the size of your eye. I mean, if you're doing a head this big, it's going to be a 3/8 ball probably. Most of my stuff is half, 3/4 life size. The life size about as big as I usually go. What you do is you come in here with your ball or a number 11 veiner, which is a U shape. Okay, you'll see them labeled as veiners. You'll see them labeled as number 11s. That 11s, by the way, on carving tools, you'll see, I got a lot of Swiss-made tools, and that's just because I work for Woodcraft part-time. After I quit the lab, I was a lab assistant for several years. They will come in there and, I was talking about the sweeps. The deeper the sweep, the higher the number. On the handles, tool handles, you'll see, say, say 11.5 on the handle. That means it's a number 11 gouge, which is a U gouge, a deep U, has flat sides on it up here, and it means it's 5 millimeters wide. That's what the numbers on tools mean. Now, if it's on the tang of the tool, it may just say number 5. Okay, you know, a number 3 is fairly flat. Number 5's got a little more curve. Number 7's got a little more curve. Number 8's got a little more curve. And number 9 is virtually a half circle. And then you have your number 11s. And then you have your V tools. Okay, so any questions on these eyes? Because people who do eyes, this is really important. I've seen so many carvings excellently executed, done. The proportions are right, but they get the eyes messed up, and that will ruin a whole carving. Okay? So, anyway, any questions on the eyes while I got you here? Yes?
How many eyes wide is the face, and does that matter, or does that differ per?
Okay. The rule of thumb is the head is 5 eyes wide. Okay, well, people think from here to here. Okay, well, if you look at a skull, from this point, it gets wider back here above your ear. Okay? That 5 eyes wide is based on for sketch people that will draw. Okay, because you don't see that width, and so if they want to know how wide the head is, it's 5 eyes wide. 5 eyes means there's one here, one here, one here, and then one from here to here, and one from here to here. Okay? Now, you want to get real picky. White folks are 4.5 eyes wide. Indians are 5 eyes wide. It's because their heads are, this upper part of their skull is a lot more developed, heavier bony structure.
Where do you lose that half eye? In the middle or on the sides or proportional?
A half eye.
Well, you said 4.5 instead
Right.
of
Well,
5.
okay, well, I'll let me explain that. I do not measure that. What I do, if you set the, when I teach or showing somebody, if you set the shape up, get the face shape set right, and the length set, and keep your center line, and get your eye sockets created, like I say, which we'll see in the book, and you'll see on the photos too. This stuff will make a lot more sense after you see the pictures. I do not measure that. Okay, I tell guys in my class, I say, oh, well, 5 eyes wide, my head's over here. Well, usually it's got hair on it. Well, you don't measure from the hair, you know. Well, where's the skull? Oh, it's in there about so far, usually there. And I'll tell you what, I say you take your dividers and your ruler. There's a picnic table about 20 yards over out there in the yard under a shade tree. Take your piece and your measure and stuff, and you go out there and measure all you want. But if you set all this up right to begin with, those eyes will fall in there right where they need to be. Okay? The center of the eyes are usually, the rule of thumb, or typically the center of the eyes is as wide as the mouth. Okay? The side of the nose falls about halfway between the center of the eye and the inside of the eye. These are just general rules, okay? And like I say, all this stuff is in the book too, because I'm taking all this information out of that. So anyway, that's what works there. A little bit on tools.
We have one more question.
Yes.
Does that change with children?
Yes. It depends on the age of the child. Children's eyes are literally halfway down in their head. They've got taller foreheads until they develop into an adult. And I haven't done many children, but if you study them, there's some great books out there on this. But yeah, a child's face, if I was a child,
You were.
I still am actually up here. But anyway, their whole face will fit from here to here. Eyes, nose, mouth, everything. The rest of this is forehead. You know, because you've seen babies. They've got pretty big heads, you know. And these little bitty faces, little bitty lips, little bitty nose. And so, like I said, I don't do a lot of children, but that's one of the main differences. And you can watch the aging process as the face grows into the head, you know. So, get my eraser. Any questions on what I've gone across so far?
Teach us more, Sensei.
What's that?
Teach us more, Senseis.
Okay. All right, what's my next subject here? Gotta get them all.
Pictures.
Pictures. Do the pictures. Now, you will see more of this. I don't think I got any side views in here. There's several different pictures in here. I work with clay. I teach clay. I do bronze work. I carve a lot of wood, mainly. And also have carved some stone before. But here's a couple of pieces. This is a piece of cedar. Half a fence post. Back where I live, they used to use cedar, half posts for fence posts. These were put in the ground in 1954, and they pulled them out in 1984. And the guy that did it knew me, and he said, "Hey man, you want some fence posts?" I'm like, "Sure, why not? They're all cedar." Sure, I'll come again. So I got a truckload of them before they burn them. You can see. Can I step over here?
Sure, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
No, not there.
Well, he told me the other day, don't be moving around up there. So
Moving the damn camera.
Okay. You see here, see this area right, this little puffy area right here at the corner of the mouth? That's that muscle I was talking about. And then see how the smile line comes down around on the outside of it? All right, and everything on a face, you see on this one, everything on a face works back, okay? A common mistake, people come here off the end of the nose and they'll go right down this way. That's not good. Everything works back on the face, all right? And you see here, this natural hollow, that's right here. We all have it. Some of us can't see it, especially some of us like me that are pretty well fed. But what that is, you've got 3 submasses of a face, all right? So you get your face set up, you got the nose kind of established, you know where the mouth is, you know where the eyes are going to go. Well, then that's your mass. That's your first shape you got. Well, then you got to break that down into 3 submasses. And that's this brow mask here, okay? Your eyebrow includes your eyebrows and your cheekbone. Okay, right up here, where your glasses cover, but includes your cheekbone. The secondary mass, second mass is the muzzle area. Okay, that's this area right here, all right? And then the third mass, and is this big bump we got back here on our jaw, you know, this big muscle? Okay, between here and the muscles that run around the mouth, your cheeks aren't very thick, okay? We know that, but there are muscles, there's 2 layers of muscles in here. Ones that run this way, and ones that run this way, okay? And that's why you move your mouth up and down, or let you grin, pulls everything back. But they're really thin layered muscles, okay? But like I said, you break these apart, and when I'm carving, I'll take a big U-gouge or a ball. I usually do this with a ball when I'm roughing them out. Come in here, and I'll come down, I'll get the eye socket set, this hot dog cut out. I'll find roughly from here to here, roughly where the bottom of the nose is, get that in there, take all this off, and then come in here, and from about here, I'll come right down here underneath this cheekbone. And what it does, if you look at it, you draw another pretty little picture here. Put a little hair on him, just kicks. And but before we put hair, a lot of people like to cover things with hair. Well, look, where's the ears go? Does anybody know where ears go on the head from the side? Pardon me?
Between the eye and the lip.
That's the length. The bottom, that's the length of the ear.
Are they like parallel with your nose if you just draw lines across? Or
Not well, no. The top of the ear usually falls in line with the eyebrow, 9 times out of 10. Those of you who wear glasses know this. The bottom of the ear, look at people's earlobes. Some people have really short ones, which usually comes out closer to the nose. Some people have long ones. Your the length of the ear can fall anywhere between the nose and the lips. Okay? Just depending on how your ear's built. So that's various. But where's it fit from front to back?
2/3 back.
Huh?
About 2/3 back.
Halfway.
Halfway.
From here to here, draw a halfway mark. The ear sits right up against the halfway mark.
Oh, sits against.
Yeah, that's where ears start. And then, of course, you have that little tragus tab. And so see, it's right about there. The bottom of the ear can fall anywhere between here and here. Just depending. So that's just a quick thing on ears. So, natural hollow. Back to these muscles. Okay, here's our temple kind of. We've got a mound here for a cheekbone. There's your primary profile. Here, that's all bad place. Here's your secondary profile. Okay? And the muscles, this big jawbone muscle here, is right back here. It's back here, right there. Big triangular shaped muscle that runs up along your temple, like I said. And the natural hollow happens, the muscles around the mouth all work like this. If you look at anatomy books, that's what it'll look like. A natural hollow, we'll say here's where the cheekbone is, right here. That natural hollow comes in and comes down. This is the hollow between this muscle and all these muscles around the corner of the mouth, which you can see on this cat right up here. See all this heaviness and these different things are going on. You got 3 little groups here. And there's that big masseter muscle, and there's the natural hollow in the cheek. Okay? And you can see it on any end a little higher, heavier area in here. That's because their cheekbones and their eyebrows are overdeveloped. Another reason their teeth come together like that, especially the older, the real Indians, you know, that's because their teeth were used as a tool. Theirs come together like this, which gives that kind of puffy mouth profile, and our teeth come together like this. So that's why our profile of our mouth area tips back. So anyway, okay, go on. I do some chainsaw carving. This is the first stump job I ever did. Nothing impressive, but what I did, I carved it, used the power on everything except the wraps, and then I hand carved the face. And so that's just to show you that I do some of it, but not to your caliber, all right? So next picture. Okay, these pieces are made out of cottonwood bark. You get this bark that grows up along the northern border of the U.S. Some of it gets this wide, and it'll get this thick. That's just the bark off the tree. Yeah, these pieces here are about not that long. You know how bark grows in strips, you know? Well, with this cottonwood bark, these are ancient trees, and you're not allowed to cut live ones, but the dead ones you can go get bark off of. And the tree has to be dead down at least a year before that bark will release enough to start popping off. But this stuff is a really soft medium. It carves kind of like compressed cornflakes. It's layers. If you're going to carve bark, like Donna said, you got to have a good supply of super glue and accelerator. But because it's got striations, sometimes the layers will be separated when you get into it. But these are just a few pieces. You can see some of the exaggerated features. There's a real old guy. And see how you see how the smile line comes in, almost touches the mouth. This comes down, rounds around. It can sometimes blend into the neck, which creases his jowl, you know. See how round and sunken in his eyes are. This guy here is a little younger. Here's a really muscular face. They're over-exaggerated. I carve what I call exaggerated realism. And that means life is boring, okay? You know, it's up to you as an artist to make it fun. So you take your features, and in sculpture, things can look too bland. So you exaggerate those. You go a little deeper than you normally would to show that shadow. Definition of sculpture is utilizing a medium light to create shadows. That's it. And here's another one. You can see the shape of the lips, and see how this comes down and around. There's your smile line. Look at the face. You got your temple, cheekbone, and here's that master muscle back here. Here's that natural hollow that comes in. You can see a little dark spot right there. That's right here. All right. I hit it on the screen. These are just some examples of some of my bark work. I paint them with acrylics, spray them with deft, and wax them. Okay, next one. I do Christmas stuff. Next shot.
I have a question.
Yes.
What do you use a super glue accelerator for when it starts flaking? What do you do?
Well, if it starts flaking, if you catch it before it falls off, I used a really thin, watery kind, and you can just take a crack and soak that crack with it, push it in, and hit it with that accelerator, and where it squeezes out the outside, it dries it in like 2 seconds. And then you leave it alone for about 5-10 minutes, and it'll dry inside.
Does the accelerator come in a spray can?
Yeah, it's aerosol. Mm-hmm. You
You don't
bet.
want to turn that nozzle the wrong way.
What's that?
You don't want to turn that nozzle the wrong way.
No, you don't. And it's got a sickening sweet smell too. So
Does the cottonwood bark regenerate like cork, or does,
you mean as it's growing?
yeah, if you cut some off of a tree, would it regenerate?
No, it'll just turn gray. Like where you cut it off, it'll be red like this. None of these faces you're seeing are painted. That's the color of the bark inside. It's kind of rusty red color. And it varies from place to place, wherever in the United States it comes from, or Canada or Alaska. But usually, you know, if you knock a piece of bark off of a tree, leave a flat spot on the bark itself, just take a couple layers off, that flat spot will always be there. It'll just turn gray like the color of the rest of it. It doesn't turn back into a point. You know, bark, when you look at the front of it, it usually grows up to a point or to an edge, you know. Yeah, if you cut that edge off, it'll just stay flat.
I mean, on a living tree, does the bark regrow itself?
No. Once you cut it off, it just stays there. And like I say, if you drill a hole or cut a limb off of a tree, eventually that tree is going to grow around that cut spot. But no, bark does not regenerate. No, will not. This is a close-up of the other guy that I was showing you, the one with the shield. This is a great shot of how these muscles work. See this mass? Here's your first submass of the face. We got the length, the shape set. We create this and this. There's your muzzle area. And here's that big muscle back here, okay? And there's the natural hollow. See, it kind of comes down and makes a Y. It's kind of, and see, the soft tissue, when you're setting something up, which is the important part, everything needs to be symmetrical. And because bones, unless you get a broken jaw like I did, are symmetrical, okay? But and most of the muscles that fit that are pretty symmetrical too. What you see on the outside of people are soft tissue. Soft tissue will not be symmetrical, okay? As you can see, there's subtle differences between the wrinkles. I've seen carvings that you look at each half of the face, and every wrinkle is identical. And it just loses life. Study people. That's the best thing I can tell you. Go to the airport, sit around for a couple of hours. Great reference material. But little subtle differences in soft tissue happens. And when those differences from side to side is what makes your sculpture look lifelike. Another thing, you never ever, these guys are looking straight ahead, the carvings are straight on. When you put a pupil in, I've seen people do perfect eyes, but they dead center that pupil. All right? And that kills it. He's a dead guy. He's a zombie. There's no life there. If you're doing a piece that's just straight on like this, always offset the pupil, even if it's just a frog's hair. Just enough so it ain't dead middle. All right? And now on pupils too, you got an eyeball here. Okay, here's your iris, and then here is your pupil. Okay, about a quarter of the iris is covered by the top eyelid. About a third is covered by the top eyelid. A quarter of the pupil is covered by the top eyelid, and the iris always comes down here. I've seen a lot of eyes that people come in here and they'll I seen one the other day, I don't remember where it was, but they put this in there, and they put the people down here. Well, that works if you want to make him look down, but you got to make everything else around it, you know, look down too. Tip the head down, close the top eyelids, that kind of thing. So, and then like those people, I do two types of pupils. The one on the book, you'll see the picture on the front has what I call a positive pupil. That means you cut the iris out and leave the pupil. The type that's on these bark carvings, this is really killer tough to do. And so I use what I call a negative pupil, which means you cut all of this out. Okay? Creates a nice heavy shadow. On small pieces, like if you're doing a little head, those work better because you can see that shadow from across the room. Okay? There's another one. Another little trick you can do is use deer antlers for buffalo horns. That's what those are. So, next page. Okay, now there we go. Here we're talking about the design and the line flow. All right? You see these deep gouge cuts right here? They're about that wide. And in between of them, it comes up to a point, an edge. These edges, it catches your eye and pulls you right up into here. Oh, here's the hair. You come up here, oh, catch the hair. Oh, I hit the necklace. Your eye hits the necklace. This is a continuous line. The hair covers the necklace, so it's like that. That brings your eye down here. You look up here. Oh, cool, man. Go up here, check the wolf head out. Next thing you know, this wolf head, this edge of this skin drags you behind it. What you see here is behind it. It's all hollowed out through here, see? And this piece back here is in the back. And notice how we've got our nice S-curve going. Okay? And see how this complements that. This is in the back because the front's cut up and this is hanging down in the back. And so you've got this negative curve. Over here you've got a positive curve. Okay? And see how this looks like this ditch disappears? It does. It goes in behind this piece and comes up through here and disappears up inside him. And then as it's coming up, your eye catches this. Oh, darn, there we go, back up here again. Your eye can't come off of it. Okay? This is a good example of line continuity. All right? Next page. Okay, there's another one. That's a cedar piece I did. That's a great big negative space right there. I got that's what happens to me if I use a chainsaw too much. Okay, so I limit myself. This is a piece I've been working on, and you'll see it in a minute. But it touches here. It touches at 3 points. It broke is what happened. It touches here in the back, and there's another spot in the back it touches. But here we go. See how this comes in? See this hook up right here? That throws your eye right back up into this. This goes in behind this. This here rolls on around behind. And the wind's blowing, head's tilted, turned a little bit, so you got this movement. Which movement's good. There's kind of hair blowing. You've got on hair, you've got 3 sections of hair. You've got your mask, which is this, which is all of this. Okay, you got that where the edge of it locked in, and you got the shape of it in the back. Then you have your submasses. Here, 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 here. Break it up into pieces, locks. So if you have it. And then after that's done, you can leave it there, deepen some of these spaces with deep shadows, and leave it that way, or you can go over it one more time with a smaller tool. I use one of those little 84. I've been using all those saber-tooth wheels, and they work really good for coming in, put some detail in, or you can go to a small number 11, the U-gouge. And if you guys want to check out what some of these tools actually look like, I'm going to have them over at the table and hopefully spend some time outside carving a little bit today.
Does anybody here sell gouges?
Pardon me?
Does anybody here sell gouges?
Not here. I've got a list of suppliers at the end here that where I do most of my business with. The other thing, okay, I'm gonna back up here in a minute, but go ahead, next picture. These are all pictures of the same piece. See how squinty the eyes are? See how heavy the brow is? Look at the 3/4 view here. See how, see that profile there? And he's got a little heavier chin. He's kind of got his head sticking out like that. Attitude's a big thing. All right, you get that guy looking at you, you know, get your attention. Here's another point of line continuity. This is a bare-chested one. The bound, see, never make these straight lines. A lot of guys want to come in here and go, like that. No good. Use an S-curve. See how it blends right down? And this robe comes over. This line continues with that line. Line continuity, so important. Okay, next shot. All right, there's just another shot. See how these big gouge marks go back behind it? And this one comes in and up in the inside. This one rolls around it, behind it. This one here, this is how I'm going to have to fix it. So, but you can see also that hollow. See that nice hollow in that cheek? Exaggerate that, man. You know, that makes it a lot interesting. It makes it a lot interesting if his cheeks are fat like mine. So, and the noses and mouths. I want to say one thing before I quit tonight or today. Next page. These are all the same piece. That's what it looked like for a brook. Now, see all these negative spaces here? I took a bowl and I grind up in there. It goes down there. There's one goes out there. And see, you can see the two tiny places it was attached. And here you can see the back. See how these big gouge marks go up? They lead your eye up into the piece. Because when you come down off to a base to create these swirly bases, and this will be all sanded really smooth. The wood's beautiful. And so you want to enhance that. And sometimes you want to get a little creative. I don't have a really good picture, I don't think, of this one. Where this comes back, see this piece, can you vaguely see this piece right here?
Yes.
Okay, it sticks out. It doesn't sit flat against a piece. It sticks out like that. It's going to be kind of a stylized eagle head.
Nice.
So that's kind of where that's going. You see where this leads you up into a hole to the front. These lead you down to the front. And then notice how you undercut up under a shoulder. And that creates a heavy shadow. And it gives you a nice edge to your piece. Okay, guys, next pose. Okay, here's another example of negative space. You look at this guy right here. Sorry about the fuzzy pictures. This comes down the chest. There's a hole right through there. And here's another form of line continuity. This ribbon from the headdress comes down and picks up this hairline, crosses the hair mass. Okay? Over here, see how this all comes down and twists? You can twist. The idea with wood, I think, and what I like to do is try to defy your medium. It's like carve a piece of wood and make it look like a ribbon, a twisted ribbon, you know. And so, like I said, this comes up. There's a nice negative space in the back, which you see part of over there. There's another one running down here, and it's attached. But see, you can vaguely kind of see how these roll up. These hollows roll up into each other and kind of disappear up into here. Now, another thing that's kind of cool. If you ever see a point like this is a sharp cuts there. And it comes to a point. Which way is that point pointing? Up. Theoretically speaking, when you walk up to a piece, that is an arrow guiding your eye up into your piece, okay? It says, hey, look up, follow this. Okay, next guy. Okay, I do some clay work. Now this is a student's work. This is kind of an interesting story. My student, one of my private students, I've got to do a 24-inch full figure. And out of a blank, we can do a cowboy, an Indian, mountain man, whatever. He did a cowboy, he did an end in. And then last year, he comes to me, he says, hey, he says, I'd like to do an astronaut. Astronaut. Okay, well, now he's gotten away from the wood, and we work totally in clay now. And so I said, all right, and I have about 3 foundries I work through. One's in Burbank, one's in Bastrop, Texas, and one's in Peoria, Illinois. And depending on where I'm at. And so I said, all right, so we work on this astronaut, getting cool. That, like I said, that's a clay. And of course they had these hoses hooked to their machine, you know. So we had this hose, we're having fun with it, it's looking really cool. And then we got to turning it. And you can see we lost the hose. Got rid of the hose, no hose. So this is the finished bronze. Wouldn't that look cool? So anyway, but this is the finished bronze, and what it is, it's when we patinaed it, used various shades of white to show the different parts. See, like the top parts are whiter than the sleeves, and gloves are a little whiter than this part, and a little light whiter here. Now this face shield, which was so cool, Kyle at the foundry did a phenomenal job finishing it off. He polished that thing down. Bronze is it looks kind of like brass with a goldish cast. And he polished that face shield down like their sun shields they wear when they're on the moon. Mm-hmm. He polished that thing down. You can walk up to it and see your face just as clear as a mirror. And it looks phenomenal. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you that. It's kind of a cool piece he did. And it turned out, the final piece turned out really good. He brings me ideas. It's like, okay, you're going to challenge my abilities? Good deal. All right, that's good. I need to learn anyway. But the whole thing is about this wide. So, all right, next picture. This is another piece. And actually, we are redoing this one now. This is a student's piece. We did this one, but we didn't use, building the armature, we didn't use heavy enough wire. And after moving it over time, that piece there is probably about this tall. It's almost life size.
That's sick.
And we're going to bronze it too. This, see what we had intended, bring some water up and kind of coming up here, splashing off his back, and then, you know, one little technique you kind of play with is take a candle, light it and hold it, and put some drops on it and it runs. And then when you take it to the foundry, Kyle will polish those little drops off and it'll look like rain on his coat, you know. But anyway, yeah, this is all out of clay. For example, the wreath was made out of a styrofoam wreath that you make Christmas ones out of. They put clay on it. These are dowel rods, ran into the center and covered with clay. But like I said, it wound up, it was that we did this one down when I was living in Texas. And when I went down to pick it up, it was just in pieces and destroyed and everything. So now we're working on a new one at my house, the same piece. We'll try to redo the same piece. Okay, next picture. Okay, this is a bit of, I do some portrait work. All right, this is a good friend of mine from San Diego, and a collector, him and his wife. And this is water-based clay here. I did him in water-based clay, had it fired, so it's hard, and it's been painted. It was gray, it was white when it was fired. And it's been painted with acrylic, 4 colors of acrylic paint to kind of give it a bronze effect, a faux bronze effect. And his wife wanted him dressed up like a mountain man. There's my model, there's the finished piece. So, next page. Okay, here's some cool things. I've been working on these dolphins for 3 years. I get a gallery in Florida that asked me one day, I said, "Oh man, we love your work, you know, but do you do sea life?" Well, never have. I guess I could, so get some clay, play with it. You have the luxury of making a mistake with clay. Oh, I screwed it up. Put it back on, do it again. Oh, that's too much here. Cut it off, you know. Play with it till you get it looking right. And you can see how what an armature is built about. This is just your regular Home Depot conduit, tees. Aluminum armature wire is what this stuff is. And it goes into the belly and runs the length of its, or goes into here and runs the length of the body. And it helps support that clay, because clay is very, very heavy. This is an example of a cedar cross. Pretty good use of negative space and nice lines. These sides up here look like they're twisted like that, and they got holes in between them, as you can see. So that, I just wanted to show you that. That's a really, I just think that's a really pretty piece. So anyway, next photo. Okay, there I do. I do some chainsaw carving. I have a buddy of mine, and we get bored this time of year because we're both not traveling. We get together. Hey man, you want to do something crazy? Yeah, sure. Why not? Come over. All right. So we did this piece. This is one piece we did, and the base is separate, of course. But I basically get a big log. We got the big log. The log was about this piece is 5 feet tall, and I would draw some lines on there. I said, let's carve a horse, man. All right, cool. So he gets his great big saw out, cuts the big chunks off, and then he'll go off and work on something else. I'll take my little saw and work on it, and then grind on it. This was elm, some kind of elm, I think, is what it was. And then the whole horse is hand carved. Because like I said, I take it as far as I can with a grinder, and then since it's hardwood, I went over the whole horse. The horse is all hand carved. The mane was power carved with a ball and a disc. And so, and then we built this base. It's a 2-piece base. But you can see another part of line continuity. This base comes up. This is kind of a neat effect. Your eye comes up, hits the shoulder, comes up here, and comes down, you know, and this comes up, kind of points you. It could have been curved a little more. But if you draw a line here, where's it come out at? Boom, there's your eye. And you're back up into the horse again. Next. Yeah.
Is it standard to work with clay and tweak these pieces out before, like the higher end pieces, before you do it in wood?
Yes, clay is a great tool. If you want to do like a really complicated twisted up piece or something, get you some clay, build you a little armature. You can do what they call a maquette. It's a small piece. You don't have to do details or nothing. Just get the positions, the joints, masses right, and that will give you your first step. And then you got a model to look at. Then you can blow it up as big as you want. So yeah, that's just some other shots of the horse. You can see all of this right here is all hollowed out behind you. And you see these curves. Everything's got curves, man. Okay? Think curves, and smooth, flowing. Go ahead, next one. There's another view. I think you might have seen that one. But there's a buffalo that we're working on. He is 6.5 feet tall at the hump. That's a heavy piece of wood. So, and what we do there, most of the fur's done with a chainsaw, and then I hand carved the nose, the mouth, the eyes, the feet, the hooves, and the horns, and the rest of it's, you know, like I say, chainsaw work. Go ahead.
Was that line that went straight down through, is that a repair of a crack?
No, that's his ratchet strap holding him on that hydraulic lift. Because he's tippy, he's top heavy, and the thing weighs about 700 pounds. And so you don't want it falling on you. So, okay, this is another piece I did years ago. Got a bad picture, I'm sorry. But see the edge of this? How that's just not straight. You curve, make that line continuity. This line comes down, hits the necklace, brings you up here, carries you around here. Here's your, and in the back, he's got 3 feathers, one sticking out, 2 sticking out that way. And so here's line continuity, hits the hair. You fall down, you hit this, back come up, and go up around here. So that's just another, and this is an example of something that's not suspended and did not stand alone. It required a base to be mounted to it. So next picture, I think that might be the last one. Oh, okay. These are flat back pieces, these two. This is a little pirate girl somebody ordered, and this is the biker dude somebody ordered. This is out of Catalpa. But you see here, see how you create some curved lines. There's no straight lines on this piece, you know. A lot of people come here and just cut that off, and this is longer than the other. And just different things that I've done. This here's another one. You got a little hand here holding, and a little guy there, he's about that tall. And so you see these curves. And the green, this is butternut too, by the way. So, and you can see the stuff in the face I talked about. All right, go ahead. Okay, another chainsaw carving that I did do by myself. This was my second stump job. It's about 7.5, 8 feet tall. I did this in New York. It's a white pine tree. The guy hires me up there to teach carving, and he is a Mustang and Cobra freak. He's got a 2005 Stage 3 Mustang, tweaked out, doors open up like this, and then he's got a 1963 Cobra. And so they cut this tree down when I went up there to teach. Now see, this is what I'm saying. I'm not a chainsaw carver because it took me a week and a half to do that. You guys could have done it in 3 days, I'm sure. But anyway, that's the Cobra and the horse. The horse's head's hand carved. The snake's head's hand carved. It's just burnt and stained with a highlighter with a little burnt umber oil paint where the mane and stuff is. And so, okay, next picture. There's a little different view of it, close up of the snake's head and the horse's head. And so, next picture. Okay, tools and resources. There you go. If you want to take a note, this is the Woodcraft Shop. It's a mom and pop owned place in Bettendorf, Iowa. They carry tools, burrs, bits, books, you name it. They don't carry chainsaw stuff, but they do carry, like I say, the burrs, the bits, and they handle, their main line of tools are Henry Taylor tools, which are English tools. They're good tools, but you have to know how to sharpen them if you order those, because they come ground on a sidewalk and a flat front, flat edge like a screwdriver. So when you get them, you gotta sharpen them. Okay, the other place I'm sure you're all familiar with, Woodcraft Supply. They sell everything from knob handles to dresser drawers to Swiss-made tools, which their claim to fame, they've got the sole distributorship of Swiss-made tools in the U.S. Their claim to fame is Swiss-made tools come sharp. Well, I worked for them for a year and a half part-time while my carving was kind of taking off, and I had to resharpen a few. They got a sharpening technique they use. Some of them come out of the package sharp, some of them don't. So there's another source. These all got websites too, so you can find them that way. This is a place in Florida, carries an extensive line of burrs and bits, and they're a strictly mail order business. But you can find us, Tim and Debbie Ephraim own the place. They've just got a big warehouse. You look through their catalog or their website, find what you want, order it, and they'll send it to you. They're in Florida. Okay. One other thing I want to say about noses and mouths. Half the nose is off the face, half the nose is on the face. Okay? This is very important. Okay, I've had people come in here and do a nose, and then they get overzealous, and they'll have this, and they'll start cutting in like this, like that, like that. Next thing you know is hanging clean off the face. There are people that do look like that. I know a guy. He's funny looking. But he's a cool dude. But anyway, yeah, that was one thing I missed a while ago. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Other than that, that's about all I got. Anybody got any questions?